Hello and welcome to this episode of What's for Dinner Now with hot food on food action. Tonight, using all the ingredients you see on your screen right now, we'll be cooking a South American inspired steak chili. So the first thing I want to discuss is these beans. These are dry black beans that I soaked for about 12 hours. I just tossed them in some water before I went to work this morning. So next up, we've got our stew beef. This is just plain regular old stew beef. We're going to season it up with some salt and pepper, and then we are going to brown it all off in a cast iron skillet. So here we're going to add some oil to the skillet, we're going to add some oil to the beef. This is just to help the browning process and to make sure that nothing sticks. So with all the other ingredients cleared off the cutting board, we can go ahead and turn our attention to our veggies while the pan gets hot. For this recipe, we're going to kind of large dice everything. I want to make sure nothing gets lost inside the pot. So with the oil nice and hot, we'll go ahead and put about half of the beef in. I'm going to split this into two batches because if I just dumped it all in the pan at once, it would stew, not brown. And when you're browning beef like this, to keep your kitchen from getting covered in grease, use another pan as a lid. Just make sure you give about a 1-inch gap so that it can vent out the steam. So here again with the peppers, we're just going to again large dice everything. It doesn't seem like a lot of bell pepper, and it's not. There's going to be peppers in the rotel that we're going to add as well. Next up is some garlic. I've said this before, I like my garlic to have a very rough chop. If you want to mince it fine, please feel free. But I kind of like the varying sizes and textures that come from rough chopping garlic like this. Yeah, it's easier. So we'll go back over here and check on the beef. This was premature. It's nowhere near brown. So I'm just going to leave it be, let it continue cooking. So as I stick my face inside the cabinet door, here we're slicing up the cilantro stems. This is something I've done before in another episode of What's for Dinner. The stems have a really good flavor. It's not quite as strong as the leaves, but it holds up better to long cooking processes like chili or stew or curry. So here you can see some of the pieces are starting to brown. We're just going to move everything around, rotate them around, and continue letting it cook. So here is the secret ingredient for tonight's dish. These are unripe plantains. They're actually so unripe that you can see I have some trouble peeling them. And what these do is in a dish like chili or curry, they actually almost turn into like a dumpling. They're so starchy and fibrous that they don't break down like a potato would, and they just absorb all the delicious broth and get this wonderful, chewy, kind of gummy, almost doughy texture to them. This was something I tried on a whim one day. It was in a pot of curry that I first tried it, and they turned out great. So anything like this where there's kind of flavors that play well with plantains, whether they're South American, Central American, Caribbean, or otherwise, plantains make a great way to kind of add some extra substance to the dish. And you can see exactly how unripe these are, as I couldn't get all the peel off of them. I actually had to use the knife to get the rest of it off. And we're going to cut these into decent sized pieces. I probably should have cut them in half lengthwise first. These slices were a little unwieldy to eat later on. So here we're just going to go ahead and drain the bean water. That's just because it's got this black color from the beans, and you don't want that to affect the color of the final dish. So we've got our next round of beef in here, and it's taking a little while to cook and brown. That's because I didn't let the pan get hot again before adding it in, which I should have done. And always make sure you share whatever you're cooking with your buddy. So the meat has all browned up, and now we have this cast iron skillet just full of lovely, lovely flavors. The French would refer to this as fond, or the foundation. There's so much good flavor there. That's why we're going to continue to cook right in this same pan. And you'll see I'm going to use the tongs the entire time. First going to add in the garlic and just keep it stirred around, but I'm purposely scraping the bottom of the pan as I stir it to try to loosen up some of those flavors. So after the garlic is fried for maybe 30 seconds, we'll go ahead and toss in the onion. Same thing, I'm scraping the bottom of the pan to loosen up all that good, delicious fond or foundation. So here I'm going to try to create a bit of a homemade chili powder. I wanted to avoid using pre-bought chili powder for this. So we've got some cumin seeds, some ground cumin, a little bit of dried oregano, some smoked paprika to give it a nice smoky flavor. Next is granulated onion. I really prefer granulated onion to onion powder. I think onion powder has kind of an unpleasant artificial taste. And this is just some cayenne pepper to add some heat. Not too much, because we are going to add those diced chipotle peppers, and the chipotles do bring a decent amount of heat on their own. So with the onion starting to get translucent and brown, we'll add in our quickly made chili powder, and just again give it a stir through, scraping the bottom. And then we're going to cook this for maybe 30 seconds. It looks like it's a little dry, and it is, but we want to toast some of those spices a little bit. But do be careful, because they can easily go from toasting to burning. So here, as we add in the tomatoes and then the rotel, same thing, scraping the bottom of the pan. The liquid and the acid from both of these will really help loosen up all those flavors. And you'll see the pan comes out almost clean when we dump this out. So after simmering all this together, we're going to go ahead and add in the rest of the veggies. This is the peppers and the cilantro stems. And then we're going to transfer this from the cast iron skillet into our cooking pot. And again, you can see that fond is almost all gone. There's a new layer of flavor in there from the rotel and the onions and the garlic, but we're actually going to address that as well. I don't want to lose any of that flavor that's building up on the pan, so I'm actually going to fill it up with a little bit of water, spray down the sides, and then instead of adding clean water to the pot, I'm going to use this. It's almost like a southwestern vegetable broth. So we're going to move our browned meat to the pan, make sure we get all those juices from the plate. And then as I started adding in the black beans, I came to the conclusion my pot is too small. But thankfully I have this big aluminum steamer pot in my cabinet. This provides its own problem though, because the aluminum pot is so thin that it will quickly burn if left to its own devices. I have a nice little solution for this I'll cover in just a second. So here we're getting in the black beans, we're getting in the plantain slices, and just stirring everything around. I'm going to add in 1 good bay leaf and a good tablespoon of beef base. This is just to reinforce the broth of the chili, just to give it some more flavor, and the base is really like adding salt. So we'll get everything kind of nice and mixed through. And then I'm just going to add a little bit of water because I want the liquid level to be above all the ingredients so everything cooks through evenly. And here's my solution to the thin aluminum pan. I actually just set it right inside my cast iron skillet. It fits perfectly. The cast iron acts as a diffuser and keeps the bottom of the pan from scorching. So here it's been about an hour later. Everything's been kind of simmering together really nicely. You can see those plantain slices are starting to pick up the color from the broth. And my plantains are starting to fog up real bad. These are the diced chipotles. They have a wonderful smoky smell, and again, I warn, these are much spicier than you would think offhand, so just use them with caution. And this is just a bag of frozen corn. I didn't heat it up or anything, just going in frozen as it is. And get everything mixed through. We're going to go ahead and simmer this for a little while longer. So here you can see I'm looking at the consistency. I checked the plantains are mostly done, but that's a really watery chili. So this lets me highlight probably one of my favorite culinary tricks that I've picked up over the years is for thickening something like chili, usually chili. You could do it with like a tortilla soup as well. Instead of using roux or slurry, use corn chips. So these are just regular tortilla chips, and just put them in a plastic bag and then just kind of crunch them up as close as you can get to a fine powder. I promise you can actually watch it like almost live on the camera. As you dump the powder in, stir it all the way through, and you can see this didn't add anything else. This is exactly how this works. The corn chip powdered, it absorbs a tremendous amount of moisture, and it goes from this runny chili to this wonderfully thick chili. So here we're going to finish the dish off. Just got some cilantro, just ripped off the top, and then I'm just ripping the leaves up into small pieces. This is just so I don't have to dirty up the cutting board again. We'll get that cilantro stirred all the way through. And we are just about ready to plate and serve this. Well, bowl and serve it, I guess. So we'll kill the heat. We'll go ahead and get this ladled into a bowl. We'll top it off with a little bit of sour cream. And here you can see how much thicker it's actually gotten now that it's cooked for maybe about 5 to 10 minutes. Again, I've added nothing else except the corn chips. It works out great. So with our chili in a bowl, top it with a little sour cream, maybe a little cheese, and you've got a great dinner for these nights that are getting cold. As always, I thank you for watching, and I will see you next time.